video, we will understand the second type of conjunction, that is subordinating conjunction. To understand this conjunction, we need to know the meaning of the word subordinate. And subordinate means junior or lower in rank, or we can say something or someone who is dependent on others. Now let's try to understand what is a subordinating conjunction with the help of a sentence. Now read this sentence. I read newspaper because it interests me. This sentence contains two clauses, one of which is because it interests me. Now this particular clause is dependent for its meaning on the other clause, I read newspaper. Here the conjunction because is used to introduce this dependent clause or subordinate clause. Hence, because is called a subordinating conjunction. So, we can define subordinating conjunction as a conjunction which joins a subordinate clause, that is a dependent clause, to another clause, that is independent clause, on which it depends for its full meaning. Here, I can give you one more trick to identify subordinating conjunction in any sentence. To do so, read the sentence carefully and identify the subordinating conjunction, subordinate clause, and main clause in this sentence. I read a book before I go to sleep. Now, in this sentence, we have main clause, I read a book. Then we have a subordinate clause, before I go to sleep. And these two clauses are joined with the help of the word before, and that is why it is called subordinating conjunction. Let's try one more. If it stops raining, we will go to the park. Here, the subordinating conjunction is if, and the main thing to notice here is it is used in the very beginning of the sentence. So it is not always necessary that a subordinating conjunction will always be used in the middle of the sentence. It can be used in the beginning of the sentence. And in this sentence, it has been used in the very beginning. And it is used with a subordinate clause if it stops raining. This is your subordinate clause. And the main clause is we will go to the park, because it is independent clause. It is not dependent for its full meaning on any other clause, and that is why it is main clause or independent clause. It has its own meaning, but this particular clause has to depend on this main clause for its full meaning, and this clause has been introduced by the subordinating conjunction if, and that is why if is a subordinating conjunction here. I hope now it's easy for you to identify a subordinating conjunction in a sentence. Here you need to notice one thing. Yes, I'm talking about the usage of comma here. It is very important to notice that always use comma if the dependent clause comes first. And here, if it stops raining is a dependent clause. That is why we have used comma here. Now, let's take down some points to remember while using subordinating conjunctions. Common subordinating conjunctions include because, since, as, although, though, while, and whereas. And the second point to remember is the subordinating conjunction doesn't need to go in the middle of the sentence. It has to be the part of the dependent clause. It is really important, as we mentioned earlier, that it can be used in the beginning of the sentence. It is not always necessary that it will go in the middle of the sentence. Here we have one more example. Before he leaves, make sure his room is clean. Here, before he leaves is a subordinate clause and make sure his room is clean is a main clause. And as this subordinate clause is beginning with this word, it is called subordinating conjunction. Now, the next point to remember is if the dependent clause comes first, use a comma before the independent clause. I had already mentioned this thing that when we will be using dependent clause in the beginning as it is used in this sentence as well, so we will be putting a comma before the independent clause. I hope now you have understood the usage of subordinating conjunctions. Now, let me give you a mnemonic to remember all the subordinate conjunctions. Now, what is a mnemonic? It is a learning technique that helps information retention. You can pick a phrase or any fake name to remember anything. And here, on a white bus is a phrase with the help of which we can remember all the subordinate conjunctions. And here is the list of all the subordinate conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions may be classified according to their meaning. For example, if you are talking about time, then you can use subordinating conjunctions like before, till, since, after. And if you are talking about reason or cause, then you can use subordinating conjunctions like because, since, as. And if you are talking about purpose, then we can use the subordinating conjunction so that. And for consequences or for result, we use that. And for condition, we use if. For concession, we use though. For comparison, we use than. So, this is how you can classify your subordinating conjunctions as per your requirement in the sentences. I hope you have learned subordinating conjunctions in this video. Thank you so much for watching.